Chapter 1390. Sandy pointed at the bird circling in the sky and said, "Is it that birdman Gregory who's still flying around blindly in the middle of the night?" Gu Meng Meng looked up at the sky. "I don't know, it's too far, I can't see clearly. But it shouldn't be so fast. Didn't he bring Miranda back to the Moda Mountains? He should at least take a few days to arrange for mating, right? After all, there are too many wolves but not enough meat. Females are so rare, they must be dealt with appropriately. As the tribe leader, if he doesn't stay behind to control the situation, wouldn't it be a mess?" With that, Gu Meng Meng tilted her head and smiled at Sandy. "Why? You like him? Gregory is quite a good male. His looks are definitely at the level of a Prince Charming. He is also very powerful. Most importantly, he can fly, and he can fly very high. If your family can add an air force, it's not bad." Sandy rolled her eyes at Gu Meng Meng. "I don't want a blind man. Gregory isn't blind, okay? A vulture's eyes are very good. He can even see a potato dropping from such a high place." Gu Meng Meng defended Gregory. "He's not blind." Sandy straightened her back. She roared as if she wanted to pick a fight with someone. "If he's not blind, where did he get the confidence to say that he doesn't like you?" Gu Meng Meng, should she tell Sandy that Gregory had already slapped himself in the face, and now he liked her again? Sandy was filled with righteous indignation. "I thought he would be around today after winter, so I wanted to see what kind of person he was. How dare he look down on our Gu Meng Meng? In the end, I didn't see him and couldn't vent my anger that I had been suppressing for an entire winter. Now, I don't like any bird I see. TSK, none of the birdmen are good." Gu Meng Meng chuckled and said, Aren't you being too presumptuous by saying that you can defeat a whole boat of people with one strike? That Ian and the rest are our people, right? By saying that, the Eagle Owl tribe is being treated unjustly." Sandy thought about it. That was true. Gregory had offended her, but the others with wings did not. But she had already scolded him, how could she take it back? So she cleared her throat. "If any birdman is unhappy, ask them to settle scores with Gregory. Who asked him to ruin the reputation of all the birdmen?" "Humph." Gu Meng Meng smiled apologetically. Yes, my precious Sandy is always right." Gu Meng Meng stayed at Sandy's house and chatted with Sandy the whole night, while Elvis and Leah sat by the side to accompany her the whole night. The arrival of the Lord Wolf King made Sandy's 7 wolf beasts excited for the entire night. Since then, they had even more love and respect for Sandy. The next morning, when Gu Meng Meng returned to the stone castle with a yawn, the entrance had already been tidied up. Gregory stood at the entrance, his gaze locked onto the direction Gu Meng Meng had appeared from. Seeing her return, he did not go up to her, but instead turned to leave. He didn't know why he had stood at the door for the whole night. He just wanted to wait for her to come back, but when she came back, he realized that he had no right to wait for her, so he could only leave. He stood in the wind for the entire night just to see her. Gu Meng Meng didn't greet Gregory either. Their relationship was extremely awkward. Both of them knew what was going on and it wouldn't be appropriate to take a step back. Chapter 1391. The moment Gu Meng Meng pushed the door open, the 4 little fellows immediately sat up straight. They opened their eyes and stared at the door for a while. Gu Meng Meng could tell with one look that they were still in a daze from sleep. They looked alert, but their brains had not yet processed the situation. So she smiled and said, "Go to sleep, I will wake you all up when Daddy Leah is done cooking." The 4 young men nodded blankly, then fell headfirst into a deep sleep. Gu Meng Meng smiled helplessly and shook her head. Elvis carried her up to the 2nd floor and said, "You sleep for a while too, I will wake you up when Leah is done cooking." Gu Meng Meng was also tired after staying up all night, so she did not reject and allowed Elvis to carry her up to the second floor to sleep soundly. She slept for the entire day. When she woke up, it was already evening. Rubbing her eyes, she went downstairs and saw her 4 sons surrounding Elvis. It looked like they had been fighting for quite a while. The 4 sons were all sweating profusely, but their eyes were shining with excitement. Elvis was fighting 1 against 4 with ease. The 4 little fellows could not gain any advantage in front of Elvis in any way they cooperated. Leah stood against the setting sun and his shadow was elongated by the sunlight. He pointed in Gu Mingming's direction, and when he saw her coming downstairs, he could not help but smile. He lifted the lid of the pot and said while scooping some food, "Meng Meng, you're awake. You must be hungry, come and eat." Gu Meng Meng nodded and walked to the dining table. Leah had just placed the bowls on the table when the 4 sons had already crowded around the table and sat at their seats. Gu Meng Meng used a beast skin to wipe the sweat off Kanwa's forehead, who was sitting closest to her. She smiled and asked, "Look at what you guys did, you're all sweaty." Kanwa chuckled and said, "Mom, fighting with the Beast King is really exhilarating." Gu Meng Meng smiled helplessly and said, "We did not gain any advantage, what's so exhilarating about it?" Kanwa looked at Gu Meng Meng seriously and shook his head, saying, "Which wolf tribe can gain any advantage from the Wolf King? We will definitely lose, but just the 4 of us daring to attack the Wolf King is already much more valiant than the other wolves. Didn't you see Mother-in-Law's 7? I heard from Colin that they're usually rampant at home, but when they're in front of the Wolf King, they're all docile and don't even dare to breathe loudly." Gu Meng Meng patted Kanwa's little head and said, "Yes, yes, yes, you 4 brothers are the most ferocious. Why don't you take a look at who gave birth to your sons?" Kanwa was grinning so widely that only his teeth could be seen. He was obviously very pleased with himself. Gu Meng Meng continued, "But why don't you call him Father Beast? Should we call him Wolf King?" Kanwa straightened his neck and said arrogantly, "When my, Kanwa's, father is more honorable than the Wolf King, I will naturally call him father." "Silly son, parents are the most honorable titles in this world. No other titles can replace them." Kanwa shook his head and said, "No. One day, when I become a Beast King, I will call the Wolf King Father Beast." Gu Meng Meng was helpless. Her son was very ambitious and she could not possibly pour cold water on him. Moreover, Elvis himself did not say anything, so what else could she say? She just rubbed Kanwa's head and asked, "What about me? Do you still call me Great Messenger or Snake King in the future?" Chapter 1392. We have 6 males in our family. Let us do those tough, dangerous and dirty things. You just have to stay at home obediently and be my mother. Gu Meng Meng sighed with a smile. Although the children refused to tell her what exactly happened at Cole's place during winter, it was not hard to guess from Kanwa's description. Tough, dangerous, dirty, Gu Meng Meng sighed softly. How many people have to fall into hell to protect one's innocence? If the price of letting me be carefree is that all of you are in danger, then why not? Leah hugged Gu Mingming's shoulder and hooked her chin with his other hand, blocking the rest of her words back into her mouth. Using his tongue, he crushed the rest of her words into a whimper. The kiss was deep, and when he let go, Gu Meng Meng looked at Leah with her face flushed red. He then chuckled and said, "As long as we can protect you completely, even if we fall into hell, we will still feel that we have a bright future ahead of us. So, keep away your what-ifs and what-ifs. Just be a good little fairy and let us protect you. If you dare to do what you did on the Moda Mountains a second time, I will definitely return the favor and let you see everyone you care about die in the most tragic way in front of you, including me." Gu Meng Meng shrunk her neck and smiled. "Didn't I already explain? I only dared to jump because I was certain that Gregory would catch me. That was just an immature method to threaten others. I wasn't really seeking death. There are many ways to achieve your goal, but you chose the one that drove Elvis and me crazy. Leo looked at Qi faintly. You abandoned us for him. This makes me very unhappy. Gu Mengmeng knew that Leo would not really kill Qi, but if he wanted to be evil, he would have endless ways to torture others. She was not willing to let her precious son fall into Li's evil hands. Hence, she immediately gave in and hugged Li's waist. Smiling, she said, "Isn't it because I am not as smart as you, that I could only think of such a method that would harm myself? Why don't you tell me what you were planning to do at that time? I will learn well and not make such a mistake again." How could Leah not know what Gu Mengmeng was thinking? However, he wasn't going to do anything to Qi anyway, so he decided to go along with her wishes. He pinched her little nose and said, "It's very simple. You just have to sing a song." "Ah. What do you want to sing?" Gu Mengmeng was confused. Leah chuckled, "In the beast world, only two races know how to sing, the mermaids and the birds. The difference is that only the females of the mermaid clan can sing, while only the males of the avian clan can sing." Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes and suddenly smiled. So, once a female's voice is heard in the Moda Mountains, it will definitely attract the attention of the other birds' tribe members. They will definitely come to investigate. As long as we attract everyone's attention, the success rate of finding one or two people who can send us down the mountain will be very high. Gu Mengmeng knocked her own head regretfully and said, "I'm so stupid, why didn't I think of that?" She had set her sights on Gregory and thought that he was the only one with wings in the world. But then again, how do you know that only males can sing? Chapter 1393. Since you already had a plan, why didn't you tell me earlier? Then I wouldn't have done something so dangerous and made you worry. Gu Mengmeng looked at Leah with a wronged expression. Leah pinched Gu Mengmeng's nose and shook it left and right. "How many times have I told you to leave anything to me and Elvis to handle? As long as you remembered my words, you wouldn't have done anything like that. Now you still dare to accuse me. I was wrong." Gu Mengmeng knew she was in the wrong and didn't dare to push her luck. She just smiled apologetically. "Seeing the two of you jump down with me without saying anything, I was really scared. I won't dare to do it again. I really won't dare to do it again." So ever since they returned from the Moda Mountains, Gu Mengmeng didn't stick her neck out. She would obediently take 2 steps back and let Elvis and Leah handle anything. Even when coal appeared in solder, Gu Mengmeng didn't bother to handle it. She trusted that Elvis and Leah would have their own arrangements. Tilting her head, Gu Mengmeng asked again. "I have another question." "Leah." "Ask." Gu Mengmeng. "That cave is so far from the main mountain range and the wind and snow are howling outside. With my tiny voice, how can my song travel that far?" Leah smiled faintly. He bent down and blew gently into Gu Mengmeng's ear. "If your voice doesn't work, there's still your scent. Don't forget, you have a scent that can make all males go crazy. As long as Elvis and I work harder, we can make use of that wind to make all the males on the Moda Mountains go crazy." Scent, fox seductive fragrance. Gu Mengmeng glared at him. She crossed her arms in a defensive position. "You actually want me to sell my body?" Leah grinned. "With Elvis and me protecting you, no one will be able to get you. As long as that group of males who were driven by their primal desires approach the cave, Elvis can unleash his beast pressure to subdue them. Then, he can preach righteousness, threaten and tempt them, or even use bewitching spells if that doesn't work. Anyway, there are countless ways to make them obedient." Gu Mengmeng held her forehead and said, "Leah, I really realize that a fox will always be a fox. I admit defeat and will never act smart in front of you again." Leah poked Gu Mengmeng's brows and said, "I will listen to it for now." Gu Mengmeng laughed mischievously. She had no choice, Her credibility with Elvis and Leah had long been destroyed. There was nothing she could do even if they did not believe in her promises. After the meal, Kanwo and Qi Xian bade farewell to Gu Mengmeng. They were not around at the end of winter, so Zacharias was probably in chaos. Burke could not handle the situation alone, so they had to return as soon as possible to stabilize the situation. Gu Mengmeng hugged her two sons, reminding them not to risk their lives in the future and to be more careful in doing things. The two of them just chuckled and did not answer her directly. Gu Mengmeng understood that in their hearts, they had already decided that males should shield females from the wind and rain, not letting females come into contact with any danger. So these two sons would still use their own methods to protect her next time. Gu Mengmeng took a step back. At least promise me that you will ensure your own safety as much as possible. We will. Qi Xian hugged Gu Mengmeng back. Mom, you should smile more. Your smile is the prettiest. Chapter 1394. After sending Qi Xian and Kanwo off, Jiaoyu and Heda started to busy themselves with the affairs of the tribe. The marriage alliance between the 16 tribes and the Wolf clan caused the internal situation of Sauter to be unstable. The Snow Fox clan had originally thought that with Cole as the Fox King, they would be able to stand up to the Wolf clan. Although Elvis was Gu Mengmeng's partner, the Snow Fox clan was still a native tribe and had a different foundation. But who would have thought that during the first hunt, Gu Mengmeng would gather the 16 tribes and the Wolf clan together? The situation instantly changed from a three-way fight to a one-sided fight, making it difficult for the Snow Fox clan to fight alone. But Cole was someone who did not care and ignored the situation, as if he did not care about the fate of the Snow Fox clan at all. So, the elders could only find another way to save the nation. That morning, Gu Mengmeng was carried by Leah to Sandy's house. At the border of Sandy's territory, she saw a familiar person. Arnold, a third-level male from the Snow Fox clan, was the one who had started the first battle with Hodgson on the day of the marriage alliance between Sandy and the Wolf clan. He was the leader of the younger generation. Great messenger. Arnold bowed respectfully to Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng looked at him in confusion. You are here, for something. Arnold nodded and said, I'm here to confess to female Sandy. Confess? Gu Mengmeng was even more surprised. Didn't the Snow Fox clan never marry outsiders? Going back 8 generations, even when Wang Xiaoxin was still alive, she did not have a single Snow Fox as a partner. They would rather raise their clans and become her followers, but none of them became her male. Leo was the only exception in the entire Snow Fox clan. When her identity as the messenger of the beast deity was exposed, although the Snow Fox clan did not dare to say anything openly, they did not hold back against Leah. It was only after Gu Mengmeng became the Beast King and became more domineering due to the influence of Snake's memories did they gradually restrain themselves. As the respected messenger of the beast deity, the Snow Fox clan did not welcome her. But this Arnold suddenly confessed to Sandy, a half-orc. It wasn't that Sandy wasn't a good person. It was just that the Snow Fox clan was an arrogant race, and they couldn't help but be suspicious. Leah swayed his tail and smiled. Do you think that I, the Ninth Highness, am not strong enough to stabilize the relationship between the messenger of the beast deity and the Snow Fox clan, so you want to imitate the Wolf clan and form a marriage alliance with Sandy? Gu Mengmeng frowned. She looked at Arnold with a guarded expression. Arnold did not avoid the question. He smiled and replied, after all, the Ninth Highness's heart is not on the Snow Fox clan's side, isn't it? Leah nodded and confessed, of course, my heart only belongs to my Mengmeng. That's why the Snow Fox clan has to find another way out. Arnold admitted that he had proposed to Sandy for the sake of a marriage alliance. Go back. Gu Mengmeng said, I will not allow anyone with ulterior motives to get close to Sandy. Arnold didn't leave. Instead, he calmly asked, "Don't tell me that the members of the wolf clan don't have ulterior motives when they mate with Sandy? Or is it that the great messenger favors one and discriminates against the other? The things that the wolf clan can do, the snow fox clan cannot." Gu Mengmeng was speechless. The 7 wolves from Sandy's family mated with Sandy because they wanted to rope Gu Mengmeng in through Sandy. This was the truth and there was no way to deny it. Chapter 1395. So, even though the 7 wolves had impure motives, they would not do anything to harm Sandy. But the beast king of the Snow Fox clan was Cole. She did not trust Cole, so she did not trust everyone in the Snow Fox clan. So she would not allow the Snow Fox clan to infiltrate Sandy's family. "You lost to Hodgson the last time. It must have been very frustrating, right? You were on par with him, but you only lost by half a move. It's really depressing to think about it." Leah swayed his tail and said nonchalantly, "But now, he is a 4th-level beast. I wonder if you are still his match if you two were to fight now." Lee's meaning was that if he wanted to woo the other party's female, he would have to challenge the other party's male. The Wolf clan would not allow the Snow Fox clan to marry Sandy, so Hodgson was a hurdle he could not cross. This matter would not happen. Arnold lowered his head and smiled. Then, did the 9th Highness mate with the Great Messenger because he defeated the Wolf King? Leo raised his brows and smiled. "Why? Are you Sandy's first love?" Arnold shook his head and said, "No." Leah asked again, "Did you and Sandy have a lingering old relationship?" Arnold shook his head again. "No." Leah chuckled. "Then what are you going to use to compete with me?" Arnold stood straight and chuckled against the light. He did look like a carefree scholar. He said in a low voice, "Old relationships are not as good as new ones. First love is not as good as long-term companionship. It has always been the Snow Fox clan rejecting others. No one has ever resisted the Snow Fox clan. After all, if a Snow Fox male wants to coax a female, even a knowledgeable female like the Great Messenger would succumb to the 9th Highness charm. Arnold may not be comparable to the 9th Highness, but it should be enough to match Sandy." Leo was not angry. He just smiled. "But you can't even enter the territory now, right?" Arnold nodded. "I heard that the 9th Highness was chased out of the territory by the Great Messenger several times. It was only because of his infatuation that he managed to move the Great Messenger. Arnold also wants to imitate the 9th Highness and act as an infatuated lover." Leah nodded and said, "Good luck." With that, he swayed his tail and looked at Gu Mengmeng, saying, "Let's not disturb him while he is brewing his emotions. Sandy is going to complain to you again when he gets anxious." "All right." Gu Mengmeng did not say anything else and just followed Elvis and Leah into Sandy's territory. Sandy used to sit at the entrance of the cave and bask in the sun. But today, he had shrunk back into the cave. Clearly, he was avoiding Arnold. Upon seeing Gu Mengmeng, Sandy's face turned sullen. "That person is still standing at the borders of the territory." Gu Mengmeng nodded and Elvis placed her beside Sandy's bed. Gu Mengmeng sat in front of Sandy and hugged little Dodgy in her arms. She teased her and said to Sandy, "Since you don't like him, just get Colin or Hodgson to chase him away. Why do you have to hide like this? You make it sound like you did something wrong." Chapter 1396. What I mean is what I mean. Whoever annoys you deserves to be beaten up. Gu Mengmeng didn't mind at all. Moreover, who in this world has to agree to someone's confession? Since he dared to confess, he should be mentally prepared to challenge your partner. Just treat it as sending Colin or Hodgson to accept his challenge. Who can he blame if he can't win? Sandy poked Gu Mengmeng's little head. "How many years have you been in the beast world? Don't you know the rules of the beast world? You have to challenge your partner to woo a female, but they can choose, all right? Gu Mengmeng blinked her eyes and looked at Sandy in confusion. Sandy sighed and said, "Don't tell me that ever since you mated with Elvis and Leah, no other males have confessed to you." Gu Mengmeng recalled and nodded. "Yes, but it was only 2 or 3 times." Sandy continued. "Then what did the 2 of them say when they confessed to you?" Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and looked at Elvis and Leah. She thought for a while and shook her head. "I forgot. It seems like I usually rejected them directly." Leah took a step forward and glared at Dodgy. Due to the connection between the 2 races, Dodgy very sensibly jumped out of Gu Mengmeng's arms. Only then did Leah carry Gu Mengmeng in his arms and pinched her little face. "You little heartless one, don't you know how much effort Elvis and I had put into getting rid of your rotten peaches? Ha! You still dare to say that you rejected them. Did you reject Burke when he impersonated Eugene? Did you reject that second-level tiger beast in Zacharias when he confessed to you? And when that witch doctor in St. Nazaire confessed to you?" "I rejected them all," Gu Mengmeng said righteously. "I rejected them all when they confessed to me. That kind of rejection is not a rejection in the eyes of males. It is just a test of their sincerity and patience." Leah shook his head helplessly. Gu Mengmeng thought for a while. "Impossible. I made myself very clear." Leah pinched Gu Mengmeng's face and shook it left and right, saying, "Your gentle tone and tactful words sound like you're trying to reject me. No male will give up the thought of pursuing you after hearing it." Gu Mengmeng looked at Leah and Leah. Ha! Gu Mengmeng felt that she had made herself very clear. But to be honest, it was very burdensome to reject someone, especially in a place like the beast world. Unlike the modern world where guys confess to you with too many ulterior motives, the orcs here used their entire lives to prove to you how happy they could make you. Faced with such a pure dedication type of confession, Gu Mengmeng really could not say anything too harsh or sharp. Blinking her eyes, Gu Mengmeng asked Leah, "But they clearly didn't pester me after I rejected them." Leah was so infuriated by Gu Mengmeng that he laughed. He asked her, "Do you think they were rejected by your gentle words?" Gu Mengmeng nodded her head in deep agreement. "What else can I do?" Leah placed Gu Mengmeng opposite him, then looked into her eyes and sneered, "If you want to mate with my Gu Mengmeng, you must first challenge her partner. Do you want to challenge me or him?" Leah tilted his head. Elvis was standing behind him with a black face and a murderous aura. Chapter 1397. Why? Do you feel regretful? Leah glanced sideways at her, the smile on his face changing. It was filled with a strong warning, "If you dare to say you feel regretful, you are dead meat." Before Gu Mengmeng could say anything, the 7 wolves from Sandy's family all knelt on the ground. This made Gu Mengmeng dumbfounded. The words she wanted to explain were stuck at the tip of her tongue as she stared at Elvis and Leah in bewilderment. Sandy gave Gu Mengmeng a push and smiled. "Don't you know how jealous these 2 in your family are? Hurry up and coax them, or bring out your female prowess." Gu Mengmeng face-bombed. "What female prowess? Don't you know I am a coward?" Sandy also smiled. "If you are a coward, hurry up and coax them. If you don't, Hodgson and the rest will not be able to hold on any longer." Gu Mengmeng smiled helplessly and shook her head. She held on to Leah with one hand and Elvis with the other. She smiled. "Why are you scaring Sandy's partners? They have never confessed to me. Moreover, coaxing the 2 of you is enough for me. Why would I have the time to invite another troublemaker back? Do you think your life is too comfortable?" Elvis retracted his aura and the 7 wolves finally stood up. Colin carried Sandy and said, "Let's go out and get some sunlight. You can't always hide in the house. At most, we will cover you up and prevent him from seeing you or you from seeing him. How about that?" Colin had protected Gu Mengmeng before and he knew that this was the time to hide. Although in the beast world, with their hearing, they could still hear their conversation no matter how far they hid, but Gu Mengmeng was a prideful person. She still had to do such things. Sandy nodded, and Hodgson took out 3 thick animal skins and laid them outside the cave. Bode took out some of Sandy's favorite fruits and placed them on the animal skins. After Hodgson carried Sandy out and placed her on the animal skin, the males lined up and formed a human barrier around Sandy. After Sandy's family left, Elvis and Leah finally put Gu Mengmeng down. Both of their expressions did not look too good as they pursed their lips and did not say a word. Gu Mengmeng looked at the two of them communicating with their eyes in front of her, as though they were using Morse code to communicate with each other. She looked at them in a daze the entire time, not knowing what was wrong with them. Wasn't everything fine when he arrived? Originally, they were talking about Arnold's pursuit of Sandy, but she didn't know how it ended up involving her. But she also said that she had no intention of finding a new partner, so why did the two of them still look constipated? The two of them exchanged glances for a long time before Leah finally spoke. He sat upright in front of Gu Mengmeng and asked, "Mengmeng, actually, you..." Gu Mengmeng just looked at Leah, waiting for him to say something. But when the words were at the tip of her tongue, they seemed to be extremely difficult to say. Even someone as eloquent as Leah could not say anything. Gu Mengmeng waited for a long time, but seeing that Leah still could not say anything, she took the initiative to ask, "What about me?" Leah frowned slightly and looked at Gu Mengmeng with a pair of deep and indescribable heaviness. He asked, "Do you not like Elvis and me anymore?" "Huh?" Gu Mengmeng was dumbfounded. She shook her head like a rattledrum. "Who said that? How can it be? You are my man. If I don't like you, who should I like?" Chapter 1398. No, I really didn't. Gu Mengmeng waved her hands in denial. Leah smiled bitterly. He was hoping for her to deny it, but when she really denied it, he did not believe her. Normally, a female would take in 5 to 10 new males every year. Other than the first partner, she would eat 2 to 3 during winter and 4 to 5 would die during normal battles. In this way, the total number of members in the family would not change, but the males would always be new. Leah sighed and continued, "The number of males in our family is originally less than others. You know how to store food so you don't need to eat your partners during winter. Elvis and I are the more tenacious type and would not die easily in battle. So, you have already been in the beast world for 4 years. According to other family situation, you should have already had 20 to 40 partners." Just hearing this number made Gu Mengmeng's scalp go numb. Somehow, she thought of the scene of Sandy mating with Hodgson and Jerry. 2 males were enough to keep a female bear like Sandy in bed for 7 days. What the hell? Gu Mengmeng felt that she might die in bed with 20 to 40 partners? Until now, she still could not feed the 2 males in her family. Every time she brewed, she would beg them to be gentler and take pity on her. And they did feel sorry for her. After that, the 2 of them did not torture her anymore. But even if one of them was especially restrained, she would still faint every single time. 20 to 40, just thinking about it made Gu Mengmeng's legs turn to jelly. One of Lee's arms was held by Gu Mengmeng, so he used his other hand to hold Gu Mengmeng's little hand that was on his arm. He continued, "With Elvis and me keeping watch, the number of males who dare to confess and woo you is far more than this. Without the 2 of us, you would definitely be more popular. There would be an endless stream of males around you, bringing you different kinds of joy. Every day, there would be fresh faces trying their best to cater to you and please you, unlike now, where you can only face me and Elvis every day." Leah held Gu Mengmeng's hand and placed it on his face. He tried his best to smile but looked very sad. His voice was slightly trembling and his eyes were filled with uneasiness. "This face, do you still like it? can it still attract your attention? I like it, of course I like it, Gu Mengmeng answered hurriedly. Did she really not know what had happened to Elvis and Leah? Suddenly, his mood was so low. Could it be that even males were in a bad mood for a few days a month? But, how long has it been since you last blushed when looking at me? Your eyes will no longer reveal that kind of infatuation when you look at me. Leo lowered his eyelids, his long eyelashes forming a shadow under his eyes, concealing most of his expression. Once upon a time, as long as I appeared in the crowd, you would see me at one glance and your eyes would never leave me. But now, I'm always by your side, yet you rarely look at me. That's right, no matter how beautiful a face is, after looking at it for 4 years, one should be tired of it. I'm not like Elvis, your first partner, and the mark is not on your heart. It's also possible that you're sick of me. Chapter 1399. Gu Mengmeng felt wronged, she did not want to find a new partner. Leah held on to her hand, his fingertips trembling. He appeared to be very careful as he begged, not only that, I will change all the things you don't like. I will never threaten you again. I will support you in whatever you want to do. In the future, if there are males pursuing you, I will also not be a hindrance. Don't abandon me, alright? It's alright even if I don't get favored. It's alright even if I don't have my current status in the family. I don't care about anything. As long as I can see you again, I will be satisfied, alright? Gu Mengmeng rubbed her head, looking at Leah in a daze, asking, did you take the wrong medicine? What are you talking about? When did I want to find a new partner? When did I say I want to abandon you? What are you talking about? Leo lowered his head, replying, you already think that Elvis and I are trouble, don't you? Leo laughed self-deprecatingly, not daring to look into Gu Mengmeng's eyes. His gaze drifted to the side, muttering in a low voice, yeah, which male dares to be so brazen in front of females? You treated me too well in the past, causing me to forget myself. It's normal for you to be sick of me. I'm not sick of you. Gu Mengmeng held on to Li's shoulders, roaring angrily, can you be more normal? What's going on? Your sudden pretentiousness is making me very confused. You clearly said, find another trouble, just now. Doesn't that mean that Elvis and I are already trouble in your eyes? Li's gaze dimmed, obviously hurt. Gu Mengmeng smacked her head, feeling rather speechless. Sighing, she looked at Elvis, asking, you two were making eye contact in front of me just now, and this is the result of your communication. Elvis hesitated for a moment, but still nodded honestly. Gu Mengmeng was so angry that she wanted to laugh. She thought that only females would be so sensitive, getting into a dead end because of an unintentional sentence, but it turned out that males could do it too. Gu Mengmeng simply sat cross-legged by the bed, looking at Elvis and Leah, saying, tell me, did the two of you suffer from some trauma recently? Our family has always been like this, we've been living well for the past 4 years, I don't believe that nothing happened, you two suddenly became pretentious. Did he hear something, or did he see something? Cole instigated the two of you. Gu Mengmeng thought about all the possibilities and asked them one by one. Elvis remained silent and Leah also pursed his lips without saying a word. However, his gaze could not help but drift towards the door and look at Sandy who was sitting there. Gu Mengmeng was confused. Why? Did Sandy scold you? Leah shook his head and tried to pull Gu Mengmeng's little hand. Seeing that she did not resist, he then pulled her into his arms and hugged her gently. He rested his chin on the top of Gu Mengmeng's head and said, ever since Sandy tamed those 7 wolf beasts, Elvis and I felt that something was wrong. Gu Mengmeng thought about it but could not understand. Thus, he could only open his mouth and ask, what does it have to do with you two that he's taking in a new partner? What, you two want to cheat on me and hook up with my best friend? Leah clenched his teeth and wanted to poke Gu Mengmeng's head and scold her for being heartless. But he swallowed his words back and his hand stopped in front of Gu Mingming's forehead. He sighed and put his hand back. He just lowered his eyes and said, "Do you still remember Bode's and Colin's reactions on the day Sandy took in a new partner?" Gu Mengmeng thought about it and shook her head. What reactions did they have? It was too crowded that day and I did not notice, there didn't seem to be any reactions. Aside from the topic, alright, my babies, this is the last chapter of the explosive chapter. The first day was free, the second day 130 chapters, the third and fourth day 50 chapters each. Sue's explosive chapter was considered to be very sincere, right? So, can Sue be bold and confident when she says she wants the monthly votes for this round? Chapter 1400. Yes, there was no reaction. One is the first partner and the other has a mark on his heart. These two people watched as Sandy took in 7 new partners and did nothing. They did not even show any signs of unhappiness. Leah chuckled and looked down at Gu Mengmeng, who was in his arms. Say, if it was me and Elvis, what would happen? Gu Mengmeng smiled without thinking. You would definitely explode, right? If the two of you knew that I went through a marriage to maintain the stability of the tribe, you would probably crush the tribe into pieces and say to me, all right, the tribe is gone, there's no need to maintain stability anymore. That should be the case, right? Gu Mengmeng mimicked Elvis and Lee's exploding behavior. She felt that she was rather comical and could not stop giggling. But Leah and Elvis could not bring themselves to laugh. They nodded. Yeah, we might really do that. The atmosphere was so awkward that Gu Mengmeng could not laugh anymore. She pursed her lips and asked. So? What are you trying to say? Leah said, Elvis and Bode are both first partners. If you really like him, he will force himself to accept the newbie you choose. But if you don't like him and have no other choice but to mate with him, he would rather die than to let the male you don't like enter the house. Colin's mark was imprinted on Sandy's chest. He was the man that Sandy had loved for many years. Before Hodgson and Sandy had become partners, he had been the strongest member of Sandy's family. He was also the male who loved his beast the most. If he tried to stop Sandy from marrying a wolf beast, Sandy would definitely not ignore his objections and insist on accepting a new partner. But we talked to Bode and Colin a few days before Sandy became partners with the wolf beast. We asked them why they did not stop it from the start. Can you guess what they said? Gu Mengmeng tilted her head. Actually, she wanted to ask too. Even she had tried to persuade Sandy not to force herself to marry a wolf beast, but Bode and Colin did not say a single word. This was very strange. If Gu Mengmeng did not know how Bode and Colin felt toward Sandy, she would have suspected that they did not love Sandy. Leah said, they said that Sandy is a female. Gu Mengmeng asked, and then? Leah shook his head and said, there are only these 5 words, Sandy is female. Gu Mingming's face was filled with question marks, as if she could not keep up with the rhythm. Leah sighed and said, the female is the head of the household. No matter what she wants to do, the male should not interfere and can only obey. Not only did Elvis and I question your decision, we even criticized you. Even with Colin's mark on Sandy's heart, he did not dare to criticize Sandy, afraid that he would lose her favor. As for me. Lee's gaze landed on Gu Mingming's ears. Then, he laughed and said, how gutsy must I be to dare to scare you, threaten you, force you to do things you don't like without any scruples, and even watch as you turn around to coax me as if it was a matter of course. Being spoiled and arrogant is a very dangerous thing. When you like me, you'll naturally do whatever I say. But if one day you're annoyed by me, then tell me, what am I? Gu Mengmeng finally understood. These two suddenly felt a sense of crisis because of Sandy's mating. Chapter 1401. I like how the two of you protect me, control me, consider everything for me and make the most beneficial decision for me. Gu Mengmeng hugged Li's neck and looked straight into his eyes. She smiled. Other people are other people and we are us. I don't like the idea of men being superior to women and I don't like the idea of women being superior to men. We are husband and wife and have the same status in the family. We have the same right to speak. So if I can be jealous of Miranda and forbid her from getting close to you, why can't you be jealous of other males getting close to me? As for the threats, you're too serious. Even if you say something to scare me sometimes, it's just talk. You've never really done anything to hurt me, right? That's why those threats have no effect on me at all. They can't make me afraid. I'll give in, not because I'm afraid of your threats, but because I know that since you've threatened me, it means that you don't like it. I don't want to make you unhappy, so I'm pretending to be threatened by you. At my place, this is called flirting. It's a form of fun. How did it become a heinous crime that cannot be forgiven by the heavens? Really? Leah didn't seem to believe her. He added on. The males at your place will also threaten females. Gu Mengmeng nodded with a smile. Yeah, they will often say things like, if you dare to give your number to any guy who flirts with you, I will break his leg, or, if you dare to leave me, I will kill you. It's very common. Leah frowned. He hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly. I won't break your leg or kill you. I can't bear to do it. Gu Mengmeng smiled and kissed the side of Li's face. Of course I know you can't bear to do it. The two of you thought I was going to die when I had a nosebleed. You were so nervous, how could you domestic abuse me? The guy who said those words would not really break the girl's legs, nor would he really kill her. They were just using a more violent way to tell the girl that they really mind her giving her number to strangers. They really don't want to hear her break up. Usually, the girl just needs to act cute and say, I know I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Then everything will be fine. Who would abandon their partner because of such words? Leah hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly in his arms and said in a deep voice, Mengmeng, I was abandoned by you before, so I know how painful that feeling is. How happy I am with you, how painful it is to leave you. After mating, I'm more than 100 times happier than when I was in a light relationship with you. So, if one day, you're tired of me, Mengmeng, I won't be able to withstand your second abandonment. I really won't be able to endure it. Gu Mengmeng hugged Leah back gently and said, what silly things are you saying? I won't abandon you. Even though you and Elvis always call me a liar, at least I won't go back on my word on this matter. Leah nodded. As long as you don't regret this, everything else doesn't matter. Good for nothing. Gu Mengmeng smiled and shook her head. Then, she pushed Leah away, creating a distance between them. She tilted her head and asked, is it okay now? Let's not be pretentious, okay? We're still at Sandy's house right now, and the owner of the house can't even go back because of us. Chapter 1402. After comforting Leah, Gu Mengmeng turned to look at Elvis and asked, Hubby, do you also think that I will abandon you? Elvis struggled internally but he still nodded his head in the end. After Sandy mated, I gathered all the first partners in the wolf tribe. After asking around, I realized that there was indeed no one like me who would stop a female from taking on a new partner. It was also the first time that a family did not have a new member for 4 years. I came from the stray beasts and am naturally more selfish than others. Moreover, I have nothing, only you. Because you are everything, I am more afraid of losing. After seeing Leah panicking, Elvis was naturally affected and became uneasy. Today, Sandy had unintentionally said, admit defeat or show off your might as a female. It was as if a lightning bolt had struck their hearts, breaking the tightest thread in their hearts. So, even outsiders could see that they had often forced Gu Mengmeng to admit defeat. Were they the only ones who did not know that they had already reached such a stage? Hence, the two of them exchanged glances and reminisced about the past. The more they thought about it, the more shocked they became. In the end, they even felt that it was reasonable for Gu Mengmeng to make the decision to abandon them now. Gu Mengmeng came out from Li's arms and held Elvis's face with both hands. She took the initiative to cover Elvis's lips but did not go deep. After a long while, Gu Mengmeng finally moved her lips away and said with a smile, "Hubby, did you forget something important?" "Huh?" Elvis did not understand. Gu Mengmeng said, "I originally did not belong here. When I came, I had nothing other than that set of bikinis. I was the one who truly had nothing. Wasn't it you who connected me to this world? Before I was around, you were already the leader of Saint Nazir. You and Leah were both famous warriors and no one dared to be impudent in front of you. I still remember when I first arrived at Saint Nazir, you gave everyone a cold stare and everyone was so scared that they did not dare to speak. At that time, I was thinking, I have to cling on to this thigh tightly, or else I will not be able to survive in the beast world." Gu Mengmeng changed her position and nestled herself into Elvis's arms. Her back pressed against his chest and her head rested on his shoulder. She tilted her head to look at Elvis and said, "After that, you really covered for me. When I used my power to bully others, you stood on my side without even asking if it was right or wrong. When I was upset because of Leah, I even said that I wanted to banish Nina, but you supported me unconditionally without even thinking about it. You always put me first and prioritize me in everything. Moreover, ever since we became partners, these two legs of mine have almost never walked. No matter far or near, you always carry me. You've spoiled me to the point where I can't even take care of myself. If I were to leave you, I might not even be able to survive a day." Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and kissed his chin lightly with her lips. She smiled sweetly and said, "You have already fused into my life. You are my entire world. If I leave you, I won't have a place to live." Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly and nodded without saying a word. Chapter 1403. The beast deity had once said that once the 7 treasures were gathered, the doors of time and space would open. What if Gu Mengmeng wanted to leave them and go over to Snake's side? Perhaps it was because he had been so thoroughly defeated by Snake that even though he was the Wolf King now, he had no confidence when facing Snake. Snake's words so weak, when he carried Gu Mengmeng back was like a knife stabbing into his heart, forcing him to fight again and again to become stronger. But even if he was strong enough to look down on the entire beast world, he did not have a single chance to win against Snake. If the 7 treasures were really gathered and he lost to Snake again, this was the real reason why he and Leah were uneasy. And he and Leah would not tell Gu Mengmeng all these. They could not say it and did not dare to say it, afraid that they would hear an answer they did not want to know. They were even more afraid that she would suddenly go back on her words after agreeing to stay. In this lifetime, this was probably the only thing he was afraid of, being cheated by her. Gu Mengmeng did not know what Elvis was thinking. She thought that Leah had already said everything. Now that he had explained everything, the two of them shouldn't let their imaginations run wild anymore. Thus, he felt relieved and said, "It's not good for us to overtake the host like this. Besides, I'm here to play with Sandy. If there's anything else, let's talk when we get home, all right?" Elvis and Leah nodded and did not say anything else. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng out of the house and saw Sandy giggling with a profound expression. Waving his hands, he said, "All right, I know you can't control them at all. In the end, you still have to coax them. I'm already used to it and won't laugh at you, so don't be awkward." Gu Mengmeng felt even more awkward after hearing her words. She sat beside Sandy and pinched her, saying, "What's wrong with coaxing our own men? They already have so many things to deal with outside. If even I bully them, wouldn't their lives be too miserable? Sandy pointed at Elvis and then at Leah, asking with a smile, them miserable? Haha, the only person in this world who can make them miserable is you. Aside from your intermittent spasms that force them to be helpless, I've never seen anyone else who can control them. Gu Meng Meng wrinkled her nose and smiled. Then, she used her chin to point at Arnold, who was looking at Sandy affectionately. What about that? What are you going to do? I can't be a door god every day. Sandy sighed, what else can we do? She didn't enter my territory, so my males don't have the right to expel her. She didn't confess to me, so I couldn't reject her. People can stand in the public area and watch the wind, rain, and sun. Why should I say that people are looking at me? And even if I really did see it, why wouldn't I let them see it? Sigh, there's nothing I can do. Gu Meng Meng held her chin and looked at Arnold, then back at Leah. Smiling, she said, although he's not as good as my husband, he still looks like a good guy. You really won't consider taking him in? Sandy looked at Hodgson and whispered, if I take him in, my family's situation will be more lively than the entire solder. Just let me live for a few more days. Gu Meng Meng laughed and said, then if you don't want to, I'll think of a way to stop him from thinking about you. Chapter 1404. Gu Meng Meng shook her head and smiled. I don't, but Leah definitely does. If you annoy him, I will ask Leah to reject him for you. Sandy turned to look at Leah, as if waiting for him to express his stance. Lee's gaze was fixed on Gu Meng Meng's face the entire time. He had not completely recovered from his low spirits. He was still worried in his heart, but he tried his best not to let Gu Meng Meng see it. So he chuckled and replied, how can I not agree to anything Gu Meng Meng wants me to do? Gu Meng Meng mumbled softly. I said Mr. has a nest of little foxes, but you didn't agree. Leah naturally heard it and his heart warmed. She was still willing to bear children for him. This proved that she did not hate him. Smiling, Leah pinched Gu Meng Meng's little face gently. Aren't we going to the Moda Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky during the dry season? I will accompany you to make foxes when I return. I will not stop until you get pregnant, all right? Pfft, Gu Meng Meng blushed. I still want to live for another 2 years. Not stopping until I get pregnant, that's too embarrassing. And Gu Meng Meng did not doubt that she would lose her life before she got pregnant. Just thinking about Lee's pile driver's endurance made her kidneys ache. The beast world did not have any sense of shame about mating. Moreover, after Sandy gave birth and took in so many new partners, she was even more open-minded. She did not feel that there was anything wrong with Gu Meng Meng and Leah discussing having children in front of her. She just tugged at Gu Meng Meng's arm. Does the promise you made to me still count? What? Gu Meng Meng came to solder almost every day to talk to Sandy. It was normal for her to forget 1 or 2 things after making so many promises. Sandy glanced at Gu Meng Meng's stomach. If the little fox you give birth to is a daughter, can you choose one of my sons as your partner? It doesn't matter if it's not the first partner. I just have to take in one. Gu Meng Meng glanced at the 3 little ones who were practicing their fighting techniques with Bode. She smiled. I can't make the decision on this. You also know that we are particular about the freedom of love. She has to choose her own man. After all, that is her life. However, no matter if it's a boy or a girl, my door will always be open to your family. You're welcome to bring your son here often to cultivate your feelings. But whether it succeeds or not will depend on fate. That's all I need. Sandy smiled in satisfaction. As long as Gu Meng Meng did not object, this matter would be settled. After all, Sandy was still very confident in his own son. However, the two females didn't know that the conversation between their best friends was like a monstrous wave in the ears of the seven wolves and Arnold. "Oh right, are you going to the Moda Mountains during the dry season?" Sandy asked. Gu Meng Meng nodded. "This matter has already been decided. Gregory is staying in Sauder. When the time is right, he will bring me to the Moda Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky. Without that thing, my Lord Fox wouldn't let me get pregnant." Sandy pouted her lips and said with an ugly expression, "Can that birdman be trusted? Previously, he said that he didn't like you and kept looking for trouble with you. TSK, he wouldn't throw you down halfway, would he?" Chapter 1405. "Oh my God, why are you so daring?" Sandy was so shocked that she jumped up, completely forgetting about Arnold. Her eyes reddened in an instant and she glared at Gu Meng Meng as if she was about to cry. She complained, "If anything happens to you, what do you want me to do in the future? I have 11 partners and 3 sons, but you are my only friend. Do you know how important you are to me? You actually dared to fall down without thinking." Gu Meng Meng, sobs. "If anything happens to you, I will never forgive you." Sandy had not cried for a long time. Ever since Oakley had plotted the stray beasts to attack Sauder and 5 of her partners had died that day, Sandy had never cried again. She grew up strong and quickly shouldered Gu Mingming's responsibilities as a mother, taking good care of Heda and Jiaoyu. If not for the fact that they did not have any wolf beasts in their family, everyone would have thought that Heda and Jiaoyu were Sandy's sons. And when she heard about Gu Mingming's reckless jumping off the cliff, her eyes reddened in an instant. Gu Meng Meng knew that Sandy would definitely turn hostile once she mentioned this matter. Other than Elvis and Leah, only Sandy would dare to scold her over this matter. Gu Meng Meng knew that she was in the wrong and she had always been helpless when it came to Sandy's tears, so she could only carefully and obediently coax her. "Good Sandy, don't cry. When you cry, even my heart will tremble. I was wrong, I was really wrong, I will never dare to do it again. Moreover, don't you see that I am standing in front of you in one piece? Not a single strand of hair is missing, really." Sandy wiped away her tears while sobbing. She tugged at Gu Mingming's arm and scrutinized her closely. She really wanted to count all her hair to see if she was missing a single strand. Seeing that she was indeed fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. But her heart still had lingering fears and her tears only stopped flowing after a long while. Leah and Elvis looked at Gu Mingming's cowardly look in front of Sandy and lowered their heads to chuckle. Originally, they were already feeling troubled over the Moda Mountains incident, but they could not bring themselves to do so in front of Gu Meng Meng. Now that there was Sandy, this troublesome vixen, to teach Gu Meng Meng a lesson, the two of them were happy and at ease. However, Sandy's partners, especially the newly mated 7 wolves, were suffering. This was the first time they had seen Sandy cry. They immediately panicked. They wanted to go up and coax her, but the queen was sitting there, occupying the position, and they couldn't do anything. What's more, the Wolf King had an expression that said, "Whoever dares to come over will be crushed to death." They were really helpless. Bode patted Hodgson's shoulder and said, "Don't panic. At times like this, she has more ways than us." Hodgson smiled awkwardly. He remembered the first day after mating, when a row of new partners thanked the queen for not being male. "Gu Meng Meng, tell me, will you still dare to be rash in the future?" Sandy's nose was red as she asked Gu Meng Meng while sniffling. Gu Meng Meng hurriedly shook her head and held Sandy's chubby little hands with both hands. I won't dare to do it again. Aren't you afraid that your golden beans will drown me? Let me tell you, if anything happens to you, I won't live anymore. I won't let you off even if I become a ghost," Sandy threatened. Chapter 1406. As Gu Mengmeng spoke, she picked up the cup of water and deliberately shook her hands, spilling the water all over the place. How could Sandy not see through her act? Sniggering, he took the cup from Gu Mingming's hands and placed it at the side. I will let you off this time, but only this time. Gu Mengmeng snuggled into Sandy's arms and smiled sweetly. Once is enough. I won't dare to do such a stupid thing again. Sandy calmed herself down and said, since Gregory likes you, and he's strong and can fly, do you want to consider taking him as your partner? Gu Mengmeng was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She sat up immediately and shook her head furiously. No, no. I definitely won't. Sandy asked, why? Didn't the two great Buddhas of your family agree? Your family hasn't taken in anyone for 4 years. You are such an outstanding female, you should contribute to the beast world and pass down your outstanding genes, right? Look at Hede and his brothers, how outstanding are they? They are only 3 years old and each of them is outstanding. You should give birth to more children. Gu Mengmeng held Sandy's shoulders with both hands. It's not a problem to give birth. Elvis and Leah promised me that I can give birth to as many children as I want after I get the love of the sky. But you have too few partners, even half-orcs and crippled females have more than 2 partners. Sandy felt wronged for Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to cry. She had spent so much effort to appease Elvis and Leah, but Sandy, her bad friend, had to rub salt into her wounds again. Shaking her head, Gu Mengmeng smiled bitterly and accepted her fate. In the blink of an eye, it had been 4 years since she came to the beast world. Sandy was the only one who could be considered her best friend. She had a good relationship with the 16 valued females, but they had a blind admiration for her and it was hard for them to be on the same level. It was not easy to interact with them. Only Sandy was different. Just like just now, she could not find another person in the beast world who dared to point at her nose and scold her. Only Sandy would risk her entire family's lives for her and stand by her side without hesitation. Gu Mengmeng sighed, then replied seriously, I don't like Gregory, I don't have any feelings for him, there's no connection. Sandy glanced at Hodgson's group of 7, then smiled and said, feelings can be cultivated. When I mated with Hodgson and the others, I didn't like them either. I didn't have any feelings for them. But after getting along with them for a while, they treated me very well. They were considerate and gentle. They would think of everything for me first and consider everything for me. We get along very well. They are also my important family now. Like Bode and Colin, they are my beloved partners. I won't look down on them just because I didn't have feelings for them when I first mated, and they won't blame me for mating with them when I didn't have feelings for them. In the beast world, most families are like this. As long as the males are good enough, the females should give them a chance. Chapter 1407. That's why I can't be nice to Gregory, not at all. Gu Mengmeng knew all too well how lowly the males in the beast world were when it came to relationships. Even someone as arrogant as Snake liked her so much that he was willing to cut open his chest and dig out his gallbladder to relieve her of her pain just because of her smile and cowardice. Even before he died, he still smiled and comforted her. Even after he died, he still said goodbye to her in the dream of the beast deity because he was worried that she would be burdened. He went to another world to look for her. Even though he had died once because of her, he still loved and protected her with a heart full of joy. He did not bear any grudges because of her death and only treated her as the treasure in his heart. She was extremely afraid of this kind of crazy love, because you would never be able to reciprocate it. Leo was able to pester her to such an extent because she liked Leah. She left some leeway in all her rejections and could not really be heartless. No matter how much she tried to hypnotize herself about the values of marriage and love, she still could not resist his deep love and his amorous eyes. So they were entangled and after many twists and turns, they finally got together. She had no feelings for Gregory, so she could not let others misunderstand. She had to be heartless now so that he would have the chance to love someone else in the future. Sandy shrugged and said, "All right, if you don't like it, I won't force you. Anyway, these two in your family treat you very well. Even though they are a little domineering, they still love you dearly." Gu Mengmeng smiled and leaned on Sandy's shoulder, saying, "They are not domineering, you didn't see Snake, tsk, self-taught domineering persona, that is really. Woman, you are playing with fire, haha." Sandy burst into laughter at Gu Mingming's sudden words, which she suppressed her voice, and the two females became a mess. Hodgson and the rest looked at each other and could not help but look at Bode with admiration. That gaze seemed to be saying, "No wonder you are the first partner, you really understand Sandy." Bode returned a slight smile, as if saying, "Well said, well said." It was only in the afternoon when Elvis and Leah carried Gu Mengmeng back to the stone castle, while Arnold was still standing outside the territory, his posture imposing. Gu Mengmeng could not help but admire him. He had been standing there for an entire morning, yet he could still maintain such a demeanor. Whenever she lifted her head to look at him, he would look like a poster. He really had perseverance. Leah followed Gu Mingming's gaze and looked at Arnold. He felt a little upset but still asked, "You like him?" "Ah." Gu Mengmeng was in a daze and did not catch on to Lee's joke. Leah said, "If you like it, he will definitely be willing. After all, mating with you is more effective than mating with Sandy." Gu Mengmeng shook her head and waved her hands. No, I'm not acting in strange stories from a Chinese studio, why would I need so many vixens? You alone are enough." Lee's expression brightened and he nodded with a smile. After returning home, Leah made dinner. After Elvis fed Gu Mengmeng, Leah handed the cutlery to Oriton to clean. He then took out the comb that Cole had given to Gregory previously. He asked Gu Mengmeng, "Do you still want this?" Gu Mingming's eyes lit up. Gu Mengmeng had long forgotten about the comb and was rather surprised to see Leah take it out. It's still here, I thought I had thrown it away long ago." I don't want it. What do I want it for?" "You can deal with it as you see fit." Chapter 1408. Gu Mengmeng guessed that Leah had probably brought that comb to Cole. Although she did not know what they talked about, but after that night, Arnold no longer stood at the border of Sandy's territory posing. Counting the days, little shit should be arriving soon. Gu Mengmeng was a little timid as she discussed with Elvis and Leah, could they not tell little shit about the stupid things she did on Moda Mountains? Because once little shit knew that she had jumped off a cliff, he would explode on the spot. He had said many times that her life was exchanged with snakes and she had to cherish it. But no matter how many times she said it, Elvis and Leah did not believe that she had jumped off the cliff because she was sure that Gregory would catch her. It was just a threat and not a suicide attempt. They had already used Sandy's mouth to scold her once, should they not complain to little shit again? If the whole world knew that she had attempted to commit suicide, Elvis and Leah nodded in agreement, indicating that they would not bring up this matter again. But no matter how much Gu Mengmeng planned, she forgot about Sandy. At the entrance of Sauter, little shit met Sandy's family, who was being carried by Colin to the forest to watch Bode lead Joseph and his brothers in actual combat training. Originally, Wabi did not have any feelings for Sandy. After all, he was a snake beast and was naturally cold-blooded. It was one thing for him to like Gu Mengmeng, but he would not like everyone related to her just because he liked her. But when Sandy saw Wabi, she took the initiative to greet him and Wabi did not ignore her. He still had to give Gu Mengmeng some face. But this greeting was troublesome. Sandy told Wabi everything about Gu Mengmeng jumping off the cliff on Moda Mountains. As expected, Wabi was infuriated on the spot. He flew straight into Sauter and without a second word, he went up to the roof of the stone castle and directly attacked Gregory. Gregory had lived on Moda Mountains for many years and was naturally sensitive to danger. So when Wabi charged in with a strong murderous intent, before Gregory could react, he had already spread his wings and flew high into the sky. But Wabi was after all 2 levels higher than him, so even though Gregory managed to avoid being hit in his vital organs, his ankle was still hooked by Wabi's venomous fangs. After flying for a short while, he fell straight down in front of Gu Mang Mang. Gu Mang Mang stared blankly at this scene, not knowing how to react. How should she put it? When little shit came in, she wanted to greet him, but before she could even smile and wave, Wabi had already bitten Gregory. Everything happened too quickly and Gu Mang Mang was a little overwhelmed. Little shit. Gu Mang Mang did not manage to stop the first move in time, but she saw Wabi's eyes turning red, as if he would not stop until he had skinned Gregory alive. Gu Mang Mang could only stand in front of Gregory and hug him. Calm down, calm down. What's wrong with you? Did he offend you? Wabi's eyes narrowed into slits as he stared at Gu Mang Mang with a sinister expression. He said her name word by word, as if he was a messenger from hell demanding for her life. Gu Mang Mang. What? Gu Mang Mang looked at Wabi in shock. She had known him for almost 3 years, right? She had never seen him so angry before. Even though he could not defeat her, Gu Mang Mang still smiled timidly. Little shit, why are you calling me by my full name like a gangster demanding a debt? What's wrong with you? Aside from the topic. Chapter 1409. You have guts. Wabi was infuriated and his entire body was emitting black smoke. He really wanted to kill Gregory, but Gu Mang Mang clearly wanted to protect him. He wanted to give Gu Mang Mang a good beating, but even though he knew he was no match for her, he couldn't do anything to her slender arms and legs. He spun around on the spot and his gaze landed on Elvis. Little wolf pup, come out and fight. Wasn't Elvis also suppressing a bellyful of frustration? Being singled out, he chuckled. I'll be happy to keep you company. With that, Elvis and Wabi left together. Gu Mang Mang face-bombed. The last time these 2 rascals were like this was when Wabi was scolding Elvis before they went to the Mecca Desert. Now they were doing it again, although she was stunned when she saw Wabi attack Gregory. Now that she thought about it again, how could she not understand? He probably knew about her jumping off the cliff on the Moda Mountains and couldn't bear to blame her, so he pushed all the blame to Gregory. Sigh, her momentary recklessness had caused someone else to pay the bill. Gu Mang Mang felt guilty. Let him take a look. Don't let little shit really poison him to death. Gu Mang Mang shook her head in exasperation. She wanted to help Gregory up, but hesitated and took a step back, handing Gregory over to Leah. Leah was pleased by Gu Mang Mang's action of avoiding suspicion. Although he had allowed Gregory to like Gu Mang Mang, it didn't mean he was willing for Gu Mang Mang's family to have another male. Moreover, one whose looks could threaten his and could fly, Leah helped Gregory up, but didn't bring him into the stone castle. Instead, he placed him at the edge of the outer wall and let him lie down. Then, he checked his ankle. A large chunk of his flesh had been scraped off by Wabi's teeth, revealing his white bones. The surrounding flesh had turned black, and a blackness spread along his ankle like a spider web. Leah clicked his tongue. This Wabi must be really furious, right? This poison is too ruthless. Is there no hope? Gu Mang Mang was a little worried. It was not a big deal for a few males to die in the beast world, but Gu Mang Mang still felt uncomfortable that she had died so mysteriously. Leah was unwilling to let Gu Mang Mang take the blame for another person's death. Snake was already on her mind. He would not let another Gregory become the person in her nightmares. Hence, he sighed and said, count himself lucky, I happen to have a medicine that can cure this poison. Gu Mingming's heart sank. With that, Leah returned to the house and brought out a small beast skin bag. Opening it, there were 2 pieces of snake scales inside. He scraped the snake scales with his fingernails and smeared the powder on Gregory's wound. After a short while, the black color that spread like a spider's web gradually faded away. Then, the black color on the wound gradually faded away as well. The poison was neutralized, but the rotten flesh could not be recovered. Leah could only use his fingernails to cut off the rotten flesh. He only stopped when fresh blood flowed out. Gu Mengmeng watched the entire process and felt a little guilty. She shook her head helplessly and said, "This little shit is too rash." "He didn't say anything and just came up to hit me." Leah tilted his head and looked at Gu Mengmeng. After a long while, he asked, "Your heart aches?" Chapter 14:10. He deserved to die because he was not as skilled. Leah stood up and changed his body, removing all the blood stains and stench from his body. He then returned to Gu Mingming's side and hugged her. Males do not need a reason to fight. This is the rule in the beast world. If he can't even protect himself, becoming food is his only fate. Gu Mengmeng shook her head. "I don't care if he dies outside. But little shit attacked him because of me. So I will not feel comfortable if he dies. I will not let him die. Don't worry." Leah promised. Gu Mengmeng nodded. She glanced at the beast skin bag in Lee's hands. "That snake scale is Ellie's." Leah nodded as a reply. Gu Mengmeng no longer felt any hatred towards Ellie. Her scales were just herbs to Gu Mengmeng and she no longer felt disgusted. Pointing at Gregory, Gu Mengmeng asked, "That wound, won't he become disabled?" "He does not fly on his feet. It doesn't matter if he becomes disabled," Leah said nonchalantly. Gu Mengmeng frowned. Leah then corrected himself. "Don't worry. He was just scratched by Wabi-Eye's teeth. Males in the beast world are not so delicate. They will grow back in 2 or 3 days." Gu Mengmeng then relaxed and did not say anything else. Elvis and Wabi-Eye's fight lasted until the next afternoon. Gu Mengmeng was speechless when 2 people who looked like wounded soldiers who had just returned from Syria appeared in front of her. A beast king and a 5th-level warrior who was just 1 step away from breaking through the bloodline barrier. Both of them were badly battered. If one did not know that they were fighting each other, they would have thought that the beast deity had manifested himself to be able to beat them up so badly. Gu Mengmeng supported Elvis, but her eyes were on Wabi-Eye. "Have you calmed down?" "Calm down your ass." "Humph." Wabi-Eye stiffened his neck and ignored Gu Mengmeng. He swam to the tree outside the stone castle and hung from the branch, pretending to be a flying poop. Gu Mengmeng sighed. "All right. If you are still angry, I will get Elvis to fight with you again after you 2 have rested." To little shit, there was nothing in this world that could not be solved with a fight. If there was, then he would fight twice. Actually, Gu Mengmeng herself could also fight with Wabi-Eye. But it was obvious that Wabi-Eye couldn't bring himself to fight her as his hands and feet were tied. Moreover, Elvis and Leah didn't like her to be rough, so she could only leave this matter to Elvis. After all, if Wabi-Eye fought Leah, Leah would probably be beaten into his original form by now. Wabi-Eye didn't say a word. He just closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep, refusing to acknowledge Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to help Elvis back into the house. As she cleaned his wounds, she asked, "You are a beast king, how did you get injured by Wabi-Eye to this extent?" Elvis chuckled. "We're just venting our emotions, we're not really going to take his life. We can't possibly use our beast pressure to kill him, right? Besides, if I didn't let him hit me twice, would he be able to swallow his anger?" Gu Mengmeng frowned as she carefully cleaned Elvis's wounds, muttering, "All of you are so hot-tempered." Chapter 14:11. How can I ignore it? What if it gets inflamed? Gu Mengmeng grumbled as she carefully cleaned Elvis's wound. What she didn't know was that Gregory, who was lying outside the door, had already woken up. Due to the complications of being poisoned, his entire body was weak and he had lost a piece of flesh on his leg. It wasn't fatal, but it was still quite painful. Unfortunately, he didn't receive a caring look from Gu Mengmeng. Hearing her asking about Elvis's well-being, Gregory's mind kept replaying Cole's words, "You can become her partner and brand the mark on her heart," replacing Elvis as the first partner. How blissful would it be if she was in his arms now, blaming him for not protecting himself properly when he was injured. Elvis and Lee's injuries were not that serious. Although they looked frightening, they did not kill each other. So before evening, their injuries had already healed and they looked like nothing had happened to them. On the other hand, although Gregory only had one injury and it didn't look obvious, he was still a third-level beast and his recovery speed was far slower than the fifth-level Wabi, much less the Beast King Elvis. But because Gregory was injured, Gu Mengmeng felt apologetic, so she asked Leah to prepare a portion for Gregory when preparing dinner. Gu Mengmeng's family of 3 consisted of the regular member who shared meals with them, Oriton, the still angry and cold Wabi, and the injured Gregory. Gu Mengmeng sat at the table and used her chopsticks to poke at the meat in her bowl. Looking at the unhappy Wabi, she thought for a moment and coaxed him. Little shit, do you want to be the Beast King? I can help you snatch the soul of the forest from Cole. Then you will be the rightful Snake King and replace Snake at the pinnacle of snake life. Just thinking about it makes me happy, right? Wabi rolled his eyes coldly and snorted without saying another word. Plan 1 to please Wabi failed. She scooped a large bowl of meat and brought it to Wabi's mouth. Lee's culinary skills have improved quite a bit recently. Try it, he added an unknown fruit into this meat. It's very delicious. Wabi nodded. Wabi nodded. Wabi turned his head to show Gu Mengmeng the back of his head. Plan 2 to please Wabi failed. Gu Mengmeng sighed and said, "Forcing me to use my ultimate move, huh?" Wabi looked nonchalantly at Gu Mengmeng and sneered, completely unfazed by her threat. Gu Mengmeng nodded and smiled sneakily. "I'm going to sleep." Wabi was stunned for half a second before he understood what sleep meant. His pupils returned to normal in an instant and he looked at Gu Mengmeng with a sparkling gaze. Gu Mengmeng laughed and said, "Then go and tell my father that the time I helped you ask questions in the past doesn't count anymore. I will never send you to see him for the rest of your life." Humph. Wabi coughed and grabbed Gu Mengmeng's arm. "Gu Meng, you can't treat me like this." Successfully coercing Wabi's plan 1. Gu Mengmeng imitated Wabi's indifferent attitude just now. She harumphed coldly and stiffened her neck, not saying another word. Little shit was a classic example of refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Thinking of wine, Gu Mengmeng turned her head back and glared at Wabi. "You drank all my wine before winter arrived." Wabi was stunned. Chapter 14:12. Who are you calling stingy? Gu Mengmeng placed her hands on her hips, looking like a teapot. Wabi had a favor to ask of her, so he naturally lowered his arrogance. I am stingy, alright. That's more like it." Gu Mengmeng twitched her lips and let him off. Wabi hooked his arm around Gu Mengmeng's neck and said in a brotherly manner, "But to be honest, don't forget that matter. I'm counting on you." Gu Mengmeng pushed Wabi's arm away with a look of disdain. "You still know you're counting on me? Then you still dare to give me that attitude? Wasn't I so angry that I became muddle-headed? Moreover, even if I was that angry, I still couldn't bear to lay a finger on you, right? You are my ancestor, my biological ancestor, all right? Wabiai nudged Gu Mengmeng with his shoulder, trying to please her. In her memory, Wabiai had never shown such an expression when Snake was alive. It seemed like he was getting more and more mischievous after spending so much time with Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng nodded. All right, I got it. Keep that disgusting face of yours. After all, you are Snake's father now. Can't you have some face? Wabiai chuckled. Sigh, you don't say. Being Snake's father really feels great. I don't need to do anything. Just thinking about it makes me feel like I can ascend to the heavens. Yes, you should stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes at Wabiai. Wabiai laughed dryly. Then, he pointed at Elvis. Little wolf, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and help your female to sleep. Damn it. Gu Mengmeng slapped the back of Wabiai's head. Don't you have any respect for your old age? Help your female to sleep, he actually shouted such shameful words. Why was he so afraid that others couldn't hear him? How easy would it be to cause a misunderstanding? Yes, Elvis had to sleep with her because he was worried that she would meet the beast deity alone. He was afraid that the beast deity would scold her and that she would directly fall into Snake's arms in her dreams. But when the two of them went to see the beast deity, they were really just sleeping. Just like kindergartners taking an afternoon nap, they just held hands and lay on the bed with their eyes closed. Damn it, why do I feel like I'm making things worse? Wabiai was bewildered by Gu Mengmeng's patting, but he seemed to have gotten used to it. All he wanted now was for Gu Mengmeng to go to sleep so that she could tell him how Snake was doing when she woke up. And when would he be able to see him? So Wabiai didn't mind her touching him and spouting nonsense. He just gave a perfunctory reply. Yes, 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 I am a disrespectful old man. My entire tribe is disrespectful old man. Gu Mengmeng was so amused by Wabiai that she lost her temper. She allowed him to push and shove her into Elvis's arms, not even allowing him to wipe his mouth before pushing him into the stone castle to sleep. Leah also put down the bowl and chopsticks in his hands and said to Oriton, "You can have the rest. Wash the bowls after you finish eating." Oriton lowered his head gloomily. Gu Mengmeng went to sleep again. That meant that Leah wouldn't be cooking for the next 4 to 5 days. Gregory, who had been left out in the cold and almost forgotten, watched the scene unfold before him with envy. Chapter 14:13. Once she obtained the love of the sky and bought 5 females to send to the Moda Mountains to repay his favor, he would have to leave her, right? Looking at Oriton, who was eating his meal in a melancholy manner, Gregory felt that he was very annoying for some reason. Without saying a word, he flew off. Back in the room, Wabiai entered the stone castle as though he was in his own home. In a place like the beast world where power was the most important, someone with Wabiai's insane level of power had no concept of territory. After all, the only person stronger than him in the past 800 years was Snake, and Snake was the Snake King. Even Wabiai himself belonged to Snake, so there was naturally no need to talk about territory between them. After that, Gu Mengmeng became the Beast King, but because of Gu Mengmeng and Wabiai were very close, so there was no need to talk about territory. After that, Elvis became the Beast King, but because of Gu Mengmeng, Elvis was used to Wabiai coming and going as he pleased, so there was no need to talk about territory. But now, besides Gu Mengmeng and Elvis, there was another Beast King in Sauter. So before Gu Mengmeng slept, she couldn't help but worry. She held Wabiai's hand and instructed, "That pervert Cole is now the Beast King. Don't provoke him when Elvis and I are asleep. You can't beat him now, understand?" Wabiai replied perfunctorily, I know. Gu Mengmeng knew that he wasn't being serious. She slapped him and said, I am being serious with you, be more attentive. Wabi-eyed scared and said, how many times have I told you, I am not afraid of the Beast King. Moreover, all males in the beast world love to fight. Aren't you making me want to challenge him even more by telling me this? Gu Meng Meng pointed at Wabi-eye's nose and said, I am warning you, if you dare to provoke Cole while I am asleep, I will kill you when I return. Wabi-eye said, all right, I know. I can't beat him, so I won't provoke him. Even if he comes to provoke me, I won't care about him. When you wake up, I'll call you and your little wolf cub. Let's go and kill him, okay? Gu Meng Meng then nodded her head in satisfaction. Wabi-eye pushed Gu Meng Meng down impatiently before stuffing her into Elvis's arms. Then, he used a beast skin to cover the both of them. His actions were so rough that he had no tender feelings for the fairer sex. Stop talking nonsense and go to sleep. Now. Leah sat by the bed and pulled down the beast skin, revealing Gu Mingming's little face. He smiled helplessly and said, all right, go to sleep. I'll watch over you. Gu Meng Meng nodded, then slowly closed her eyes. Seeing that Gu Mingming's breathing had evened out, Leah turned to look at Wabi-eye. While Xiao Meng is asleep, help me with something. What? Wabi-eye asked. Leah smiled. Fight with me. I want to level up. Wabi-eye chuckled and said, oh. Intermittently working hard to improve. Haven't you always been walking the path of eating and waiting for death? Leah didn't mind Wabi-eye's teasing and just smiled. Cole is doing something that Meng Meng doesn't like. I promised Meng Meng that I would stop him. So, I need to level up to the 5th level first, then activate the Beast King bloodline and become the legitimate Fox King. I will take drastic measures against Cole. Chapter 14:14. On the other side, Gu Meng Meng was gradually ascending along with the white fog. Having experienced it the first time, Elvis was no longer as flustered. He just protected Gu Meng Meng tightly, hugging her in his arms out of habit. The beast deity stood on the platform and waved at the two of them. He then pulled Gu Meng Meng out of Elvis's arms with a grin and hugged her. Even if you two have become partners, you can't hug my daughter in front of me. Don't you have any shame? Elvis lowered his head. Father-in-law is right. Although he said so, he did not think so in his heart. Without Gu Meng Meng in his arms, he felt something was missing. It was as if he was only complete when he hugged her. Gu Meng Meng held on to the beast deity's arm with a grin. Father, I haven't come back to see you for a long time. Did you miss me? Of course. The beast deity pinched Gu Meng Meng's little nose dotingly. Didn't you only go to retrieve the love of the sky during the drought season? Why did you come back so early? Fine, this mischievous brat who only knew to return home when he lacked money was already deeply rooted in his heart. Gu Meng Meng accepted it. Anyway, it was already like this. She laughed awkwardly. Didn't I get into trouble at Moda Mountains and angered little shit? The beast deity chuckled. He poked Gu Meng Meng's head. You're a coward. Gu Meng Meng did not retort. She held on to the beast deity's arm and sat on the long bench. She was afraid that the beast deity would suddenly think of some crafty way to scold Elvis. She said anxiously, Father, hurry up and start. I will accompany you to watch television. All right. The beast deity turned back to glance at Elvis. His gaze was saying, my daughter is so popular. You scum, you had better be tensed up. If you don't treat my daughter better, I will replace you anytime. Gu Meng Meng did not notice the look the beast deity was giving Elvis. She just smiled and urged the beast deity to start watching television. The beast deity waved his hand. The screen that resembled a home theater appeared before their eyes. The location was the female toilet of S University. The scene was the previous time when Snake hugged Gu Meng Meng, who was secretly crying in the toilet, and questioned the girls who were talking about her behind her back. The girls slid away from Snake while sticking to the wall. Snake really minded that his hands would touch any other females other than Gu Meng Meng. Otherwise, he would have crushed them to death on the spot. Talking behind his Tuming's back. You probably don't even want your tongue anymore. Snakel's face was extremely gloomy. Today was really not a good day to come to school. Tu Meng had just been made to cry by that jerk, and now she had to hear those girls ridiculing her behind her back. I can't stand it. I can't stand it anymore. How could his precious treasure be trampled upon like this? Snakel whipped out his cell phone and sent a message to the principal, asking him to retrieve the surveillance footage from the corridor outside the female toilet and take screenshots of the faces of the 3 girls who had just walked out. He would then send them along with their admission information to his secretary. The headmaster did not dare to be negligent, so he did as he was told. But Snake was not in the mood for class anymore. He pulled Gu Mingming's hand and said, "Let's go home. But we still have lessons in the afternoon." Gu Meng Meng was worried about her school credits. Her results were already not good. If she were to miss school, how could she graduate? Chapter 14-15. Gu Meng Meng hesitated for a moment, then pulled Snake and asked, "Can I not go back today?" Snake looked at Gu Meng Meng and asked gently, "If you don't go home, where do you want to go?" Gu Meng Meng lowered her head and said, "I want to go back to the hostel for a night." "No." Snake frowned and said, "It's not convenient for me to stay in the female hostel." Gu Meng Meng was stunned for 2 seconds, then she shook her head and said, "What I mean is, I want to go back to my previous hostel and squeeze in with Bailan for a night." Snake's face darkened and he pinched Gu Mingming's chin. Looking at her red and swollen eyes, he said unhappily, "You mean you want to abandon me and sleep with someone else?" Why did that sound so weird? Bailan is a girl. Gu Meng Meng mumbled softly. Snake's face was still cold as he narrowed his eyes and said, "So a girl can hug my woman as she pleases?" Gu Meng Meng choked. Her relationship with Bailan was very good, but they were innocent all right. Why did those words sound so different when they came out of Snake's mouth? I just feel bad today and want to talk to Bailan about it." Snake pulled Gu Meng Meng back into his arms and said, "You have something on your mind but don't want to tell me, but to tell someone else." "Gu Meng Meng, whose girlfriend are you?" Gu Mingming's face heated up from Snake's question. She lowered her head and said softly, "Not everything on one's mind is suitable to be discussed with one's boyfriend." Snake lifted Gu Mingming's chin and forced her to look up at him and asked, "Why?" Gu Meng Meng pursed her lips and answered, "A girl's mind is very complicated and delicate. Guys will find it pretentious and impatient when they hear it. I don't want you to think that I am too clingy and troublesome." So, Snake was not too satisfied with Gu Mingming's explanation, but it was better than using the excuse of Bailan is more important than him, so he reluctantly accepted it. Kissing Gu Mingming's little mouth, Snake then said, "Tu Meng, stop provoking my jealousy, all right?" Gu Meng Meng looked at Snake in confusion, not understanding what he meant. Jealousy? Such a thing did not exist. Gu Meng Meng felt that she did not have good relationships with the opposite sex. In her past life, she was so busy trying to survive that she did not have time to think about other things. The only time she had anything to do with it was when she had given Zhang Jinqing a love letter, but it was intercepted by Snake halfway. After dating Snake, she became even more unapproachable to strangers. There was no existence around her that could make a boyfriend jealous. Snakel could tell that Gu Meng Meng was confused and just smiled. He looked into her eyes and said affectionately, "Before I appeared by your side, I was jealous of everyone who passed by you. Because they could easily see the you that I dreamed of. Now that I can finally be with you, you still want to tell others about your troubles. Tu Meng, if someone else is more important than me in your heart, I will go crazy. I will go crazy from jealousy. Actually, I hope that there is no one else in your heart except for me. But Snake did not say this out loud. Because he knew where Gu Mingming's limits were. If he pushed her too hard, she would only be scared away. He wanted to protect her for the rest of her life, but not to imprison her. Gu Mengmeng was flustered by Snake's words. She lowered her head and said, I was just afraid that you would find me annoying. Chapter 14-16. I have already missed out on the past 18 years with you and I can't make up for that. So Gu Meng, don't let me lose even more. To me, you are too precious, more precious than you can imagine. Snake kissed the top of Gu Mingming's head and sighed heavily. I can't be without you, not even for a second. If you must return to the hostel, then give me 3 days and I will get the school to clear out a building for me to stay with you. But if you want to leave me and go to someone else's bed, this is definitely not possible. Don't mention it again, don't even think about it. I don't want to go to someone else's bed. Look at what you're saying. Gu Mengmeng swore to the heavens. She and Lon were really pure, but why did it sound so awkward coming from Snake's mouth? Snake smiled and walked out of the female toilet with Gu Mengmeng in his arms. The other students had already gone to class and there was no one else in the corridor other than the two of them. Snake hugged Gu Mengmeng as he walked and said, You don't want to go to someone else's bed. You only want to go to my bed. Alright, you said it, don't go back on your words, understand? I didn't mean it that way. Gu Mengmeng hurriedly retorted. Yes, they were now in a relationship. Since he used the excuse of being a pet dog to stay on her bed every day, they did sleep together every night. But in all honesty, the two of them were really just sleeping on the same bed, and there was not the slightest bit of inappropriate behavior. But what, only want to go to my bed, why did everything Snake said today make her feel awkward? Snake's gaze froze and he narrowed his eyes. You didn't mean it that way. Then what do you mean? You don't want to go to my bed, or you don't just want to go to my bed. Pfft, Gu Mengmeng spat at Snake. Can't I sleep on my own bed? Why must I sleep on someone else's bed? Upon hearing this answer, Snake smiled and nodded, saying, You have quite a strong sense of territory. Alright, I'll do as you say. You can sleep on your own bed. I don't recognize beds, I only recognize you. As long as you are on my bed, I'm fine with any bed. But I have to correct something. I am not someone else, I am yours. Gu Mingming's face was extremely red. She quickened her steps and scolded, shameless. Snake's legs were much longer than Gu Mingming's. Gu Mengmeng had already started to jog, but Snake was still walking leisurely. He did not mind her scolding him and just smiled. It's enough for me to have you. Why do I still need my face? It was only noon when the two of them drove back to the villa. When she went to school in the morning, she was called out by her jerk father after just one lesson. Then, she stayed in the toilet for half a day, listening to her classmates ridiculing her behind her back. Then, she was teased by Snakel before she came back. Gu Mengmeng thought, his university tuition seemed to have been paid for in vain. Damn it, I received the money, but I didn't get the knowledge that I was supposed to give. It felt like I was shopping on Taobao and the other party had received payment for the goods, but the goods were fake. Snakel looked at Gu Mengmeng sitting at the dining table biting on her chopsticks. It was obvious that she had a lot on her mind, but she did not look sad. He guessed that she was probably not thinking about that scumbag of a father of hers, so he did not probe further. He allowed her to wander around the universe and daydream while he prepared lunch in an orderly manner in the kitchen. Chapter 14-17. Based on the average human lifespan of 80 years, with 3 meals a day, he could still cook 67,890 meals for Gu Mengmeng. Excluding the meals during their dates, work, school canteen as well as her occasional cravings to eat junk food, the total amount of food he could cook for her was about 40,000 meals. If he wanted to cook all the dishes he had learned for her, he had to ensure 3 dishes and 1 soup for every meal at home. Lunch was the Italian series, with ravioli as the main course and 3 other dishes, namely bistica fiorentina, white wine lavarelli fish and caciocco. For dessert, he prepared a Sicilian sweet omelette and a special cappuccino. Usually, Italian delicacies should be paired with wine, but Snake was not too willing to let Gu Mengmeng drink alcohol, so there was no wine cellar in this villa. There was a manor in F country, but that was one of the wedding gifts he had prepared for Gu Mengmeng. After eating, Snake carried Gu Mengmeng to the balcony on the 2nd floor to bask in the sun. He casually played with her hair and asked with a smile, "Are you planning to read Xinhua dictionary to me? Or are you planning to tell me what's bothering you?" Gu Mengmeng held the coffee cup in her hands and took a small sip of Snake's specially brewed coffee. It tasted really good, the sweetness was just right and the foam was fine. He did not purposely make it especially bitter to show off his taste, nor did he put in too much sugar to please her taste buds. Snake had accurately achieved a balance, perfectly satisfying Gu Mengmeng's current desire that she could not even describe. The feeling of bliss spread from her lips to her entire body, making her feel warm, and the events in the morning did not seem so depressing anymore. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and smiled, saying, "I don't want to read Xinhua dictionary, it's so weird." "Then share what's bothering you, I also want to hear it." Snake gently stroked Gu Mengmeng's hair, his eyes filled with love. "You also want to hear it?" Gu Mengmeng glanced at Snake. Snake nodded and said, "I want to hear it whenever you want to talk to me." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and asked, "Then, what if you are busy? For example, in class or in a meeting?" Snake kissed the back of Gu Mengmeng's hand like a gentleman, then said, "As long as you want to talk to me, I am not busy at any time." Gu Mengmeng smiled, then said, "Actually, it's nothing much, I just felt very wronged at that time. But now that I think about it, why did he come to find me? Did he encounter some difficulties? No matter what, he was still my biological father. After all, he gave me life. Would it be too unfilial of me to run away like this? But I also felt that I had suffered so much because of him. I really couldn't forgive him. Therefore, he was very conflicted and did not know what to do. I want to ask Bai Lan and hear what she has to say. Is Bai Lan's opinion very important?" Snake asked with a tinge of jealousy. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and smiled bitterly. "Actually, I can already predict what Bai Lan will say to me." Snake replied with a single syllable to express his question. Gu Mengmeng said, "She will probably ask if I am the reincarnation of a white lotus. Then she will list all the hardships and sufferings I have suffered all these years because of an irresponsible father. The final conclusion should be, as long as you are not an idiot, don't bother about him." Aside from the topic, this Italian meal sounded very classy, didn't it? How was Susu's acting cool? To be honest, I have never eaten any of these dishes before. I only read about them from gourmet blogs. Susu herself probably only knew about pizza and spaghetti. Chapter 14-18. Snake smiled. According to Gu Mengmeng's memory, Snake felt that Gu Mengmeng's analysis was correct. Bai Lan's words should be along this route. Even if the wording was different, the main idea should be close to the mark. Since you already guessed it, why do you still need to discuss it with her? Snake asked. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head and smiled faintly. Her eyes were a little teary as she replied, "I just need Bai Lan to scold me, then I can tell myself with a clear conscience that Bai Lan is right. It's not my fault that I don't care about him, he is a scum. He gave birth to me but did not take responsibility for me, causing me, a child with parents, to live a life worse than a beggar by the roadside. So no matter what hardships he encountered today, it is his retribution. I don't need to pity him or blame myself, he deserves it. Yes. After Gu Mengmeng finished speaking, she secretly turned to look at Snake. She took a deep breath and said, "Do you think I am so evil? Are you regretting having a girlfriend like me?" Snake shook his head and smiled. "There is no good or evil in my eyes, no right or wrong, only you. You are my standard. If you are kind, I will redeem myself and become a Buddha. If you are evil, I will sacrifice myself and become a demon. Regardless of good or evil, I will always be on your side." "Thank you for saying that." Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and kissed Snake on the cheek. Then, she added, "Although I know it is fake, I am still very touched by it. I feel much better now that you have comforted me." "Silly girl." Snake rubbed Gu Mingming's head and said, "Lying is to achieve some goals that cannot be achieved by telling the truth. And I, who is omnipotent, do not need to lie." Gu Mengmeng was amused by Snake and said, "Are you really in your second year of university?" "Not in your second year." "Omnipotent me, TSK, are you in the final stages of Chinibu?" In fact, he was almost omnipotent. Except for her. But, he had originally intended to make her laugh. As long as she laughed, he had achieved his goal. It was nothing to be teased by her. As long as she was happy, he would be happy. Then what do you plan to do next? Do you want to forgive him or take revenge? I can help you with either. Snake asked. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "I want to know why he suddenly came to school to look for me, but I don't have the courage to ask. Forgive him, I can't do it." There was no need for her to take revenge on him. The so-called sadness meant that it was really difficult, but it was over. Since I've made it through, why should I sink into it again? Anyway, I haven't had a father for more than 10 years. I hope that he will never appear in front of me again. Let me continue to be a fatherless child for the rest of my life. All right. Snake kissed her forehead and said, "He will not appear in front of you again, don't worry." Gu Mengmeng smiled. "I hope so." After that day, Gu Mingming's jerk of a father never appeared again. What she did not know was that the bastard of a father, his mistress and their illegitimate daughter were thrown to Zimbabwe by Snake's men. That was a GDP 0 per capita. For $1, the average lifespan of a man was 37 years, and the average lifespan of a woman was 34 years. Countries where 1% of the population carries HIV. Chapter 14:19. Gu Mengmeng tugged at Snake's sleeve and asked in a low voice, "What's going on? Did your identity get exposed?" But Snake did not seem to care and just smiled nonchalantly. "Gu Mengmeng, can we go to your house this weekend?" A female classmate, who had not spoken to Gu Mengmeng since entering school, suddenly came up to Gu Mengmeng and smiled brightly like a sunflower. Gu Mengmeng was embarrassed. She could not even call out her name. What made her think that their relationship was so good that she could go to her house to play? Moreover, Gu Mengmeng instinctively looked at Snake. She was now living in the dormitory provided by Snake. How could she have a home to entertain her friends? Gu Mengmeng, why are you looking at him?" The female classmate came up and tugged at Gu Mengmeng's arm. She said coquettishly, "If it's not convenient at home, let us go to your company to take a look." Gu Mengmeng. "Don't pretend. Everyone knows. You are the CEO of Monster Company, commonly known as the CEO." The female classmate smiled proudly. Gu Mengmeng was shocked and stared at Snake with her eyes wide open. Snake nodded, confirming the unknown female classmate's words. Gu Mengmeng asked Snake what was going on with her gaze. But Snake just smiled and whispered into her ear, "The document you signed on the dining table in the morning was the transfer of shares." "What? Shares?" Gu Mengmeng only managed to say one word before she immediately covered her mouth. She pushed the female classmate aside and pulled Snake out of the classroom. Snake lazily allowed Gu Mengmeng to pull him to the stairwell. He then leaned against the wall and looked at Gu Mengmeng with a smile, saying, "The great CEO pulled your little wolf dog to the stairwell during class time. Did he want to do something indescribable?" "What great CEO? What little wolf dog? What nonsense are you talking about?" Gu Mengmeng was going crazy and said, "Didn't you say that was the transfer of management fee account in the morning? You said that you were too lazy to go to the bank, so you changed it to my bank account, and even took my bank card to make a copy. How did it become a share transfer certificate?" Gu Mengmeng said the words "share transfer agreement" very softly, afraid that others would hear her. But Snake laughed and knocked Gu Mengmeng's little head. "How little common sense do you have? Which CEO would go to the bank to pay the property management fee?" No. Gu Mengmeng was discouraged. "I have never been a CEO before, how would I know? Aren't you now, President Gu?" As Snake said, he bit Gu Mengmeng's earlobe and said, "You were laughing so hard when you received the contract for a trial worker. I saw that you quite like Monsieur, so I gave it to you." "I don't want that." Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "Hurry up and tear up that transfer certificate. Let's pretend nothing happened." Tearing up a contract is against the law. Snake pretended to be serious and said, "Moreover, I have already brought it to my lawyer for justice." You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.